Welcome to Egg Foo Yuck. Egg Foo what? Sorry.
What? Jesus, you had all week to rehearse this opening, Mike.
There's no rehearsal for this show. No.
Yikes.
This is
this
is
Egg Foo. Let me do this for you.
Okay, you started.
Let me do this for you.
Kick it off.
Welcome everybody to another week of Egg Foo. What? I'm Expo Tom. I'm Greg Wilson. Sorry. And
I'm Mike Lisk.
Mike. This is why we need to practice.
This is the practice.
This is like at the Oscars or whatever when they they fucked up the winner's name or whatever. This is
I'd say it's a rocky start.
This is how people are seeing how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
Or the whatever. Are there Chinese sausages?
I actually could edit that part out, but I'm gonna.
That's gold, Mike. That's what the fans want.
They want the fuck ups.
They want to know that we're human.
Yes.
They see us as these podcast gods floating in to give them some happiness with their dreary, drippy, dopey, sorry, pathetic, stupid, loser, empty lives. We're all these people have. So we're leaving.
Yeah. We're all people have. And
listen to us right now is like watching the Get Back documentary. It's like, wow, look, the Beatles are just normal people.
Yeah. Except even the Beatles can be boring. That was my takeaway from Get Back.
I don't think so.
No, that wasn't the takeaway.
No. Well, I'll say this. I've probably watched it 5 times.
That's incredible.
I live blogged every episode.
Yeah.
I love. I've never been so grateful for something, entertainment wise. Like it's the first time I actually thought, wow, thank you.
See, I like the original Beatles anthology.
I love that too.
Yeah.
I love that. I wore that.
I even own that on DVD.
I had the videotape. I taped them off the TV back in the 40s. Then our buddy Will got me. I think he did. Anyway, the 10 box set or the 10 disc DVDs.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've been at his house the whole time. I love the anthology, but that was more of a not just for beginners, but an overall like here's the story of the Beatles. And it was fantastic. And I love it. Whereas this was more of like, you do kind of have to be a super fan.
Yeah, it's a super fan thing, it's and of course most Beatles fans are super fans, at this point. I mean, come on.
The only thing I didn't like is how many times do we have to see them vamp through 50 oldies?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Even the Beatles could be boring.
It's not even that it was boring, because when you say boring, you think it would be when they're just kind of sitting around looking at each other. That part's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Because another thing is
John's jokes.
Well, not even his jokes. Because I realized that as a hardcore Beatles fan who's read all the books, seen all the interviews, all the clips, like to a Beatles fan by this point, we kind of have a set number of Lennon videos or quotes that we always see. Here's Lennon being funny. Here he is being a wise ass. Here he is being an asshole, yada, yada, yada. And so you get used to kind of seeing this defined, here's all the John Lennon bits. And he's either a genius or funny or an asshole or whatever. But either way, he's super iconic. And then you're watching this and you're like, oh, sometimes he's funny. Sometimes he's whatever. But sometimes he's just sitting there looking like a dope like anybody else. Which was like, oh, shit. Yeah, that's right. Sometimes he's just sitting around waiting for a sandwich like anybody else. And
for me, the best thing of Get Back was the coats. The various coats that would.
Oh, well, appear. Jeff, Glenn Johns' coats.
Yeah. He was the master of the coats.
George tried to take him on.
But George would try to throw his hat in the ring.
Yeah.
With some of his yak. I mean, what were some of those coats made out of? I mean, were they?
Yeah, what is that famous coat on the rooftop? Because it's like a long fur. Is it Yeti?
That's the Abominable Snowman.
Before the fancy coolers.
I thought maybe it was yak. I thought yak is an animal, right?
But every 5 minutes, they're doing fucking blue suede shoes, and it's like, I get it. That's how they clowned around, and I get this is signaling to us that they have a shared musical past. How many fucking?
So does
that
this
said,
mean
I will be eagerly awaiting the 18-hour version.
Does this mean you haven't gotten your ticket for the Elvis movie yet?
That's interesting. Well, first of all, I still haven't seen Downton Abbey, which I can't believe.
Yeah,
it's like 2 weeks now.
Can we stop talking about Downton Abbey every episode?
No, we cannot, Mike.
No, this is going to be something I can't shake.
I am curious, though. I think I'm looking forward to the Elvis movie because for 2 reasons, maybe 3. I might end up with 4.
You're on the fence with the third
number one. Yeah, I was just saying to somebody a couple of months ago before I heard of this movie, I was like, gee, it's funny that there doesn't seem to have ever been a definitive Elvis movie. Do you know of one? Like, I know there's been some TV ones, there's been some goofy things, but I don't know.
Well, I guess like the comeback special.
Right.
The comeback.
But like the Elvis biopic in terms of like the Ray Charles one or the Johnny Cash one. Was there one?
No, you're right. There isn't really, I can't think of a documentary. You know, those Elvis TV specials are like what you want to see, you know?
Yeah.
I think they capture what it was all about. You don't have any of that stuff from the early period, though.
Right.
I mean, there's definitive books about Elvis, though.
Yeah, but that's my second point. I've read a couple Elvis books.
But there's only really 2 books to read. The Peter Guralnick books, right?
Yeah.
Those are fantastic.
I read the one, shit, I don't know who it was. Where it's about the music and just about his kind of life. And what I think I've picked up on over reading some books or interviews or whatever, is as great as Elvis is. Who doesn't love Elvis? He seems to have been a kind of boring guy in and of himself. You know, like there's no great Elvis stories of him being, funny or crazy.
There is that story where he almost knocks out. Well, I think he does knock out. Doesn't he knock out Paula Prentice with a pool ball thrown at her?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know that
one. You didn't read the second book?
I didn't read that one.
That's what's so great about the Peter Guralnick books.
Yeah.
You read the first one, it's all about the rise. And then the second book is all the downhill. Yeah. I mean, and the downhill, I mean, I didn't know that story, but I remember it,
Yeah.
You don't hear much about it because it was, that stuff didn't surface back then. But he lived, what you can say about Elvis, he lived a life like no other person.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a truly unique person. Nobody ever lived a life like that up until then. I mean, I guess you can make arguments that some people have experienced greater fame, but at the time, he was the peak. I mean, Frank Sinatra, had his time as a very popular singer, but then Elvis comes along and he's in a whole other category. He's like an alien.
Yeah.
And just reading about, he lived a secluded life after a certain point because, he became so famous, he couldn't go out in public. And so then his life gets ruined.
Yeah. But even other than that, like the fame stuff, even before that or other than that, he just seems like a kind of, he loved his mama.
Yeah, he was a mama's boy. Truck driver. I mean,
it seems like he would kind of, if he was here, he'd just kind of be hanging out, being quiet. I don't want to say dull, but so then I'm looking at this movie and I'm like, well, gee, how are they gonna? It's Hollywood. They'll fucking make it crazy. But then Tom Hanks is Tom Parker, who is Tom Parker as a guy. He seems to be more interesting than Elvis.
Well, he was just a shady character. He hitched his wagon to Elvis, and then he had to protect himself. He was wanted. Elvis could never travel. That's why he never went to Europe or anything. Because Tom Parker was wanted. He was a wanted man.
He was an illegal alien.
Yeah. He had this.
Like, how did? how did Elvis not? Number one, how did he just eventually go to the government and say, "Hey, I'm wanted. I'm an alien, whatever. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to fucking take care of this, and I'm going to take Elvis around the world, make a ton of money, and pay a ton of taxes." Like, I don't understand why he didn't do that.
Because I don't think he was that bright. I don't think Tom Parker was that bright. It was just sort of happenstance that he sort of, fell into this thing, and he didn't know how to handle it either.
To keep Elvis, and like the other thing is, how come Elvis didn't say, "Hey, dude, what the fuck?"
Yeah,
he was smart enough to
be controlled.
Yeah, he was smart enough to keep Elvis under control, which is like,
yeah.
So
it's a strange dynamic,
Yeah, I'm worried. I'm a little more interested in the whole Tom Hanks part of it.
You think he looks like him? He looks horrible in that makeup. I've seen. It doesn't look like him.
I think I've only seen the Elvis guy. I don't think I've noticed Tom Hanks. But between Tom Hanks being in it, I feel like they're going to ratchet up the Tom Parker stuff, I would assume. But I'm surprised. I am kind of interested in seeing what they do with it, because I think they're going to really have to Hollywood ratchet it up a bit, because other than the stereo around them and everything,
well, I'm sure they're going to have big.
The Beatles, you can sit around and watch them just eat ice cream because they're just funny and entertaining and cool. And
there's going to be big musical numbers.
Yeah,
I mean, this guy, the director, what's his name? Boz. What's his last name? Lerman. He's done musicals before, so he knows how to do the big musical set pieces. So I'm sure there's going to be a fair amount of those.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. My favorite Elvis story is when he died, his girlfriend who found him, I was reading, I forget which book I was reading, and she's telling the story, and she's like, "Yeah, I woke up at like 3 a.m. Elvis wasn't in bed. So I realized I got to go look for him. I thought he was in the bathroom. So I went and freshened up my makeup and went into the bathroom to see if he was in there." And I'm like, I'm like, what? Like, Elvis is such a badass with chicks, or could have been. He's sitting on the toilet. And this girl, who I presume is smoking hot, thought to herself, "Well, before I go in the shitter and see Elvis, I better put some makeup on. I better look good." That was, and she was so matter of fact about it. I was like, wow. And then she found him, I was like, geez, no girls putting up. First of all, no girls coming anywhere near my bathroom. It's not happening. I could be telling them I'm dying of a heart attack, and they'd be like, "All right, I'll send somebody. Good luck." They're not putting, and they're certainly not freshening up to come see me on the shitter. I thought that was, I'm like, wow. Are you going to go watch it now? Do you remember when he died? You're a little older than me.
Yeah, in fact, it was quite memorable because it was, it was a summer day. It was very hot out. I remember that, and I was in.
You don't need to paint a whole picture.
I was in high school. I was in high school at the time, and during that period, I hung out a lot at my friend's house down the block, who had a pool table, had the stereo in the same.
Rich. Oh,
well, not exactly. Not exactly.
Oh,
but
I didn't know you did the Kennedys back in the day.
Yeah, pool table. Jeez. But so he had a pool
they have an ice machine on the fridge.
He had a pool table, and he had a 4-foot pool in the backyard. So we'd shoot some pool, go in the pool, shoot some more pool. And he had a stereo, and we'd listen to that while
I'd have married this guy.
Anyway, so it comes on the radio that he died. And we weren't fans, and we were quite disrespectful, because then the radio is playing nothing but Elvis. But we're cutting up, we're having fun, and I remember another friend lived across the street. His father came out, and he's like, "Ding dong, the king is dead," or something. He was very disrespectful. So yeah, there was a lot of disrespect going on.
Now, why were you didn't like Elvis? Did you not like him because he was the old generation, and you were into punk, or did you just legit not like his music?
You know what? I hadn't checked. I really hadn't listened to much of his music. I knew the big songs, Jailhouse Rock, and Don't Be Cruel, the songs you couldn't avoid.
Right.
I mean, his music is unavoidable.
Yeah.
So the songs, whether you're buying the albums or not.
Mhm.
So I mean, I knew his songs, but I hadn't explored much in the
Yeah.
Elvis. And
I'll
I was
tell you
into
what
other things.
I'll tell you what I love most. I mean, I love his comeback stuff, like the 68, like, Suspicious Minds and the Ghetto, Kentucky Rain, all that stuff
Yeah,
the most. But boy, if you hear some of his gospel stuff,
that's good too.
that's pretty amazing. It's
Yeah,
like,
it is.
you
Yeah.
can tell, like, he was such a great singer, he could sing whatever, but you can tell when he was singing gospel, he really put that extra,
Oh yeah.
really
That,
cared about it.
that was where he came out of,
Yeah.
that was his base pretty much, I would say.
Yeah, I stumbled into some double disc, like 30 years
Oh
ago,
yeah.
and
No, I mean, I'll say this about the Elvis. I mean, they repackaged his music
Mhm.
phenomenally, I mean, they had the big three box sets, one for the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. They're
Oh,
all
that's
pretty great.
right, Elvis Masters.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right. I forgot about those.
Those are great.
Yeah.
And then and like you said, then there's that, I think my gospel collection is like 3 CDs.
Yeah, that's it could have been 3. That sounds about
Yeah.
right.
But I even had the records. I mean, I did
Yeah.
eventually, find my way to Elvis, and I bought records before CDs came out,
Yeah.
So I did explore a little bit,
Yeah.
but yeah, not a deep dive, but I don't know. I don't think I think this is, you always have to be skeptical with Elvis because they're always repackaging stuff for the next generation.
Yeah.
So this feels like, this has gotten the approval, I know, of his daughter,
Mhm.
and his ex-wife, I think, are on board. So, they get a part of the action, I believe.
Of course, yeah.
So,
Didn't his
you
granddaughter
got to be a little
just die?
skeptical. What's that?
Didn't his granddaughter just die? Like,
Yeah, yeah, and that
yeesh.
family's just full of tragedy. Yeah.
But boy, yeah, the guy, if all I could take from Elvis is Suspicious Minds in the Ghetto and his gospel stuff, I'd be pretty happy. Like, I don't need Don't Be Cruel or
Yeah, I would agree
all
with you.
that.
That 60s period
Yeah.
was really a peak period for me too.
After Sun, that's just kind of but then his comeback stuff and just remarkable. And yeah, I was a little, I don't think I remember him. I don't think I remember him dying, but my mother loved Elvis. She was that perfect age when he came out. And boy, whenever you'd mention him for a year, she would just, because somebody would make fun of him. It would always be like, oh, those years in Vegas when he was fat.
Right.
And she would just shake her head and be like, he never lost his voice. No matter what, he could always sing, which is true.
Yeah, that is true.
And
I mean,
so
the material he was doing was getting a little schmaltzy,
yeah.
But the voice is still there.
Well, I remember I was listening to a podcast, a great podcast. It's called Let It Roll. You'd love it. It's a complete deep dive into the history of music, rock and roll, blues, funk, everything. It's incredible. I love it. And I'd never really thought of it. Even, I've read a bunch of books that never really made it so clear. But the reason his songs and movies, but songs in the movies got worse and worse, is because with every movie, Colonel Tom would rate, insist on him getting paid more and more. So with every movie, more of the budget would go straight to Elvis, so they couldn't afford good songwriters. Like in the beginning, they had Lieber Stoller writing songs for the movies, Doc Pomus, all that stuff. And by the end, it was like, me, like they couldn't afford all with Elvis. So that's why, like, literally every one got worse and worse and worse.
I've never watched one Elvis movie. I mean, I've heard nothing but horrible things about them.
Boy, that's yowza. You're right. I don't think I have either.
No,
I don't think it's ever occurred to me.
Yeah, they're uniformly reviewed as horrible. So yeah, why waste the time?
Well, I feel like Love Me Tender always got some cred, and it's black and white, which gives it a little something.
Is that the one with Jailhouse Rock in it?
Yeah.
All right. I think I've seen that
That
one.
seems to be kind of legit, and that was
Yeah.
probably the first one.
Mhm.
So obviously, it's going to be the best one.
See, I couldn't even tell you the name of the movie, but I do remember the Jailhouse Rock bit.
Yeah. And yeah, boy, that's funny. It's never occurred to me to sit down and watch an Elvis movie.
I think I've seen bits if I just passed it randomly. There's one with Anne Margaret in it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I've seen clips. Yeah,
I'm not watching that for Elvis.
but I mean, but you cannot deny. I mean, I'll say this as George Costanza would say, with a staunch record of heterosexuality, he was a good-looking dude. Elvis, not George Costanza.
Uh-huh.
He was a good-looking dude. They say he could. One great quote was, "Elvis could get pussy where most men couldn't get drinking water." So I like that.
But here's the thing. When he, I always remember this quote. I think it's in the Girl Neck book, or maybe
about them just cuddling.
No. You know, he was very young. He was a teenager when he was first discovered.
Yeah.
And so, you know, teenagers have acne.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, you know, he had a bad case of acne at one point. And I don't know if it was Sam Phillips or maybe a manager described his acne as the wrath of God. You know, it was so bad. So, you know, he was a handsome guy, but, you know, he was also a human being with acne occasionally. Yeah. But anyway, where are we on this show with our Chinese takeout?
Well, I gotta tell you,
this week's.
Did you see the picture I sent?
Yeah, it looked pretty good.
Pretty good. Brown, limp broccoli drowning in some syrupy crap. I
don't know. I thought the broccoli looked pretty crisp.
I'm looking at the picture of yours. Yours looks steamed and crisp and green.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to post my real photo tomorrow.
Real photo
for Zoom.
Is this a glamour shot?
This is just for the podcast. Because
did you hire this one? Did you pay? No, this from Getty?
This is from the internet. And this isn't a photo of what I ate. But I think I could have made a similar photo. Well, you'll see the real photo.
I've never been so angry at you. I tried to take a bite of this. I was furious. It is disgusting.
What now? Didn't you say you were going to have the gravy on the side?
They came all together.
All right. Well, you're blaming me for that. I thought
yes.
I thought that was going to be your strategy. You were going to have it on the side.
I didn't really know how it was constructed. But yeah, it came all goopy and all together. Like sweet and sour chicken, I know to order it on the side.
So the broccoli wasn't firm?
No,
it was drowned.
I don't.
It was drowned.
Yeah, it was.
Your broccoli was limp.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. It doesn't look limp in the photo.
Jackson, Playboy Mansion. Boom.
It didn't look limp in the photo.
It looked limp in my mouth.
So you didn't use the rice at all. I'm taking.
Huh?
You don't use the rice with it?
I didn't even get that far.
So you took a couple mouthfuls and you didn't eat it?
No.
Wow.
Same thing with the egg drop soup. I was horrified. I don't know what I was expecting because I took a bite and all I thought was, ugh, this texture is like eggs. And then I'm like, oh, that's right. It is. Is it raw egg? Like, oh.
That's my problem with it too. You know, you think about egg drop soup. I'll say this.
Oh.
You can't look at it. If you look at it, you're done.
Well, I looked at it and it looked like, I'm like, oh, well, it looks like, like a thicker wonton.
That's what it tastes like. If you don't look at it and you just sip it, it tastes like the wonton broth.
Not mine. I couldn't get past the texture. This slippery raw egg. Ugh. I don't know which one was worse, to be honest. Wow. I tried and I was like, does Mike hate me? Why did he fucking, why is he doing this to
No,
me?
this is partly, I mean, this is like the simplest thing I could think of for you. And
Uh,
this is turning out to be a disaster.
it is,
This
I
is
mean,
where I think, going forward, we'll have a lot of laughs.
yeah.
I mean, I ate mine. Mine was satisfactory to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it.
But I'll be honest, as varied and wide and crazy as these menus can get, boy, I find it hard to believe this is going to be topped in terms of like,
Well,
ugh,
yeah, I tried to keep it simple for you, Greg.
I appreciate it.
And,
buddy.
I didn't want to
I appreciate
do
the
you in this way.
I appreciate the intention, but woo,
So how much of it did you eat? Not even half?
no, not even half.
Oh
No,
God. Now I
no.
feel bad because you're like wasting food.
What do I care?
I mean,
Mike, they'll make more food.
yeah, but in these times, I don't like to waste money on food,
Well, yeah, but for this purpose, I'm okay trying and throwing away food.
So did you have a backup strategy for like eating? I mean, was this tonight you had this?
What would you care if I'm eating? You're concerned?
I'm concerned about your
Worried?
welfare. Yes.
No, I had a big old thing of fried rice, so that was good. So,
Oh, okay.
always
All right.
available. But woof.
So how do you rate this?
Well, I can't give it a 0, I guess.
Can't give it a 0. So you're saying this was worse than the GT chicken?
Oh yeah, like I could physically eat the chicken, even though it's gross and I didn't like it, and ugh, like I could stomach eating some of that, even though it was terrible. This, this I thought was an assault
Well,
on all my senses.
I'm going to have to say this might be the restaurant's fault. I mean, do you have other options? Maybe this restaurant,
Don't you dare blame Golden China.
Golden China.
Not now, Mike. Don't you dare. We've gone through too much together.
But I mean, if they're screwing up something this simple, you might want to check out a different one.
I was shocked. Like I pictured that it would be broccoli, like healthy steamed broccoli with a, like a drizzling of the sauce. Which, to be honest, I don't even know if it's garlic. It was just, I didn't know garlic was brown, but I pictured it like drizzling of. That's how I picture most things, drizzling, to be honest. And it just showed up in this bucket of goop.
Yeah, I'm gonna blame this on the place you got it. Mine had a drizzling. It wasn't too overwhelming. You'll see in my picture tomorrow when I post it.
Oh, we'll finally get this picture.
I mean, there was a fair amount in there, though. I'll say this. There was a fair amount of the goop at the bottom when I was done. I did not put the rest of that on my broccoli. I left it there.
The thing is, who can eat that much broccoli? There's like 20 sprouts or whatever. Like, even if I liked it, who eats that much? Like, I don't mind broccoli. If you serve me, a nice pork chop with a couple of pieces of broccoli, I'm happy to eat them. But who eats an entire bucket of broccoli?
Well,
I've never seen anybody do
that. When this dish is done correctly, it's very satisfying. And mine was, I finished mine. It was satisfying. It was filling. I probably could have saved part of it for tomorrow, but I was like, why not? I didn't eat all day, and it was good. I mean, I guess the one complaint I would say is that some of the broccoli was like, ever get these giant stalks? Like you gotta cut them in half because they're too big. I had a little bit of that going on. I prefer broccoli that's, I could fit it in my mouth. Without cutting it, so that would be the only negative for my experience.
Now, how about you? How about your egg drop soup? And you know what? I'm willing to accept that a lot of it was the restaurant's fault based on what you're saying. I can see that.
I'm thinking maybe you got to get a backup restaurant going. Is there another one nearby?
Yeah, there's a couple. Yeah.
Because I was actually thinking of
actually, the one I've been using, they did not have broccoli with garlic, so I had to use a different one. There's a bunch around here. So.
Okay. All right. So broccoli and garlic sauce is not on every menu. Wow. Okay. It seemed like a
I was
standard to
surprised
me.
by that too. Yeah, I was surprised by that too. There was only one restaurant I didn't see it on. The next one I went to, they had it. So, yeah, I was surprised too because I did think it was a standard, certainly an easy dish. I would think,
Yeah.
shit out some broccoli and shit sauce.
Hey, come on. Don't you have nieces, Greg? This isn't
Nieces?
the Joe Rogan show with the language.
Who do you think this?
Don't you want your nieces to be proud of this podcast?
No.
No.
I'm not listening to this.
What do you mean? You haven't gotten them to listen to this yet?
Nobody I know is listening to this. No.
This is in a vacuum.
Number one, yeah, none of my friends like or care or are really interested in anything I do ever. Here, for one.
Those sound like great friends.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Number one, yeah, nobody's done more and nobody's done more for less shits than me over the years. So yeah, they're not listening to this, especially since it's on YouTube.
No, I know that experience because I've been involved with the Best Show for 15 years now, and I don't think my family has ever listened to it. My closest friends, I'm pretty sure, have never listened to it.
I wrote a book that included some of these people. They still didn't read the fucking book.
Well,
people didn't give a shit.
This is an honest admission here. I can't read a book from a screen.
That's fair.
Maybe I'll make a stronger effort. There'll be something we can talk about. I'm going to do that. I'm going to make a better effort to do that.
Well,
I'm not a digital reader.
I'm not either. I've never read a book on a Kindle either. So I'm down with that. I understand that. I don't like it. It's weird. The only book I have read, I read on my phone, and it was Jaws. I made a point of reading it at the beach, and I did it on my phone. But
you read that book recently? You didn't read that when you were much younger?
No, I never did. And I hated the book. I thought the book was terrible.
Yeah, a lot of sexy stuff, huh?
Well,
didn't like the sexy stuff.
The sexy stuff.
It's pretty explicit, as I remember it. Because I read it when it came out. I think I read it before the movie came out. It was like the book was hot.
Oh wow, okay.
And
you know what's funny about that is well, not funny, but are you a big Fawlty Towers fan?
I've seen a few episodes. I never went all the way in with that.
I think the first episode, they're sitting in bed, John Cleese and his wife, and they're in two separate beds, and he's reading Jaws, which must have been right before the movie came out.
Right.
That would have been 75.
Yeah.
Yeah, the book, I thought when he described the shark, because there were some chapters where he just described the shark, and that whole chapter is not Moby Dick, but those were great. But yeah, I didn't like the rest of the book, but why? Yeah. I could write a book about these people. They wouldn't bother fucking reading. They wouldn't give a shit. So, yeah, no fear of anybody.
And you don't even have to change their names.
No. I could say horrible things about them if I wanted. They would never know.
Yeah, but most authors have the decency to change the names,
Nope.
But you can get away with just
somebody could say to one of them, "Hey, Greg wrote this thing, and he totally rips you and says these terrible things." They'd be like, "Oh, okay, whatever." And then
we might as well plug your first book. It's called The Nanny.
It's called Williamsburg Rats, a Manny's Tour of Duty.
Oh, sorry.
That's right. That's okay.
I can't even get the title right.
Jesus Christ.
I'm thinking of the TV show.
Jesus. But I did just put out another book a couple days ago called The Wedding Parties. I hate when people say, "Oh, what do they say? Selfish plug." Damn it! Now I'm drawing.
Shameless
Shameless plug.
Yeah.
Oh, shameless plug. and then they act like, ooh, and then they do the plug anyway. I'm just plugging. I'm desperate for anybody for some attention.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to oblige.
Thank you.
Now, Williamsburg Rats was based on your experience as a real life nanny.
That's right.
Or Manny, right? Am I using the right term?
It's Manny.
Manny. Okay.
Yeah, it's my.
I don't want to get the terminology wrong.
It's loosely based on my 3 years as a Manny in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. That was a lot of fun to write. That was a couple years ago, and now this one is pure fiction, just a pure comedy. Hilarity ensues kind of book. It's just a fun romp kind of thing. So I really enjoyed writing it. I love the ending. I hope everybody who reads it likes it. So this is my non-shameful plug for the wedding parties on Amazon.com. Thanks for the plug.
And the one reason I should go back and read Williamsburg Rats is because you were at ground zero during the hipster explosion.
That's right.
In Williamsburg.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a lot of that made it into the book.
There is a lot of hipster hating. And that was also the first Manny. Because before the Great Recession, it was me. I go to these things with the kid, and it'd be me and 25 nannies from Trinidad and Tobago. Then the Great Recession hit, and all these Wall Street dudes lost their jobs, and they'd start showing up. And as I say in the book, for sale on Amazon, they'd show up and look at me, and they'd give me this look like, rough out there, huh? You too? I'm like, motherfucker, I've been coming to this class for 3 years. Let me tell you who takes over if the teacher gets assassinated. Me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's a fun book.
I don't know. To me, it's a bit of I knew you when you were doing this. For the listeners, we were sort of also part of a Williamsburg softball team.
That's right.
At the time, and I would commute over from Bayonne to play softball on Sunday.
That's right. You were a fearless pitcher every Sunday.
My friends in Brooklyn.
That's right.
And it was a great time. We had so many good times.
Yeah.
We did this for several years. And it was a good time. Good group of people for the most part. But then towards the end of my tenure over there, we began to see how the hipster movement was sort of taking over the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
And this
I already had by then.
Yeah, you're right. It was there already, but here was the kicker for me was the arrival of kickball team.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and it wasn't just kickball, it was costumed kickball, right?
Each team, a lot of handlebar mustaches.
Each team had a theme. Maybe there were pirates. What were some of the different outfits? But they were all, it was like Halloween.
Yeah.
Every Sunday playing kickball. I mean, it's unbelievable, right? You think about it.
It's
and
true.
These are adults. We're talking about adults here. And you see all these stories about the infantilization of the culture. Here it was staring us in the face. Grown adults playing kickball.
We were on the front lines, bro.
I mean, not that softball is such an adult pastime, but it's a little more adult, right? I mean, we could say
more
that.
More than kickball.
Yeah.
Not more than kickball, less than real baseball, but boy, we did have a lot of fun. That was a great, just the idea that every Sunday we'd have an automatic meetup with some of our friends, and it was just so much fun.
And we spent a lot of time at the legendary Turkey's Nest bar, which was right across from the fields.
Still standing.
It's still there. Actually, I met a woman in Bayonne at my uncle's bar, Mass's Tavern, who was related to the family who owned Turkey's Nest. Yeah, it was like quite a coincidence. This is
Yeah.
an older woman. She was a home caregiver, and she would stop into masses for a couple beers at the end of her day.
Mhm.
And we got to talking, and next thing you know, somehow I made the connection to Brooklyn. I think maybe she said she was from Brooklyn, and then yeah, next thing I
Oh, that's
know,
cool.
I'm
Yeah.
talking to she not only was she related, she used to work there. She
Ah,
said she worked there for years, bartending and so on.
like when? Like how?
Before our time.
Yeah. Okay.
Before our time. That I believe that bar's been there a long time.
Long time. I think it's the only place pretty much left standing from my reign of terror in that neighborhood. Uh, I think I think they've owned the building like since for 100 years. They probably paid it off during World War II. And they don't care. They're just
Right.
collecting money.
Yeah. So they welcome the hipsters every Sunday, and we would go in there, and again, we're having a good time after playing softball, having a few laughs. But then, of course, with the arrival of the digital jukebox,
Oh,
we'd have a hipster who's got to play some thrash metal, because
yeah,
that's what most people want to hear
yeah.
on a sunny Sunday afternoon.
Some ironic trash metal. Thanks, buddy. Thank you.
And it would just like we'd be looking at each other like we could barely hear each other at that point. So yeah, it was a real joy kill.
Yeah, we ended up after a couple of years, we started going to the Gibson. I don't know if you remember that. It might have been after your time. That was down the block.
I mean, I remember going to a bunch of those bars in that area.
Yeah, yeah.
Was that where one of our friends worked?
No, you're thinking of Matchless, maybe.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how we made the connection to the. I think the Nets just got too crowded sometimes, so it moves it down to because if you played the 4 o'clock game, there were already hundreds of people that had already done playing and drinking. So the Gibson was nice because it was big and open and quiet. But yeah, the Nest is still standing.
How about the
if I ever do get back to New York, like a
Charleston?
Charleston, that's right. Although they redid that, they totally redid it.
Did they give it a new name?
No, they kept the name, but it's totally different. That was one of my that was my favorite. The
You played there. For the audience, Greg is a musician, and he's had bands, and I remember seeing you a few times there, right? You played there?
Yeah. We had a residency there one month. We played every, I don't know, Friday night or whatever, and I was in charge of since it was my night, I would book the bands, and I liked playing there until I don't know if you remember the old couple that owned it.
Yeah, it was an older couple, and they had the pizza place right
next
to it.
Yeah,
and pizza was good.
It was good. It was a little odd, but in a good way. And it was when I first moved there, it was only $1 a slice.
Mm-hmm.
And there was an old man and a woman. She would man the pizza oven usually, and I remember the old man coming up to me after a couple shows, and I think I'm setting up for that night of rock. And he comes up, we're talking, he goes, yeah, you guys are great. I was like, oh, thanks. He goes, yeah, my wife really loves your sound. And I was like,
yeah, had fans.
I was like, ugh. So the one compliment I've ever
kiss
gotten,
of death. You saw it as a kiss of death.
Well, yeah, the one compliment I have gotten on my various artistic efforts is some centenarian telling me that his centenarian wife, quote unquote, liked my sound. That did make me take pause and be like, well, maybe this just isn't for me.
Am I going in the right direction?
But I love playing there. Yeah. I remember was it you? We were playing and all of a sudden the electricity went out. And I thought they'd pulled the plug on us. So I just put down my guitar and walked over to the bar and got a beer. And the guy's like, what are you doing? And it turns out, I think they said you had accidentally kicked the plug or something. Or
no, that doesn't sound like me.
It sounds exactly like you.
Although I vaguely remember the lights going out. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying nobody said you did it on purpose.
Uh-huh.
I hope.
Well,
That was a great. So I was like, oh, so I just sauntered back and got back to rocking.
did I at least put the plug back in, or did somebody else have to come and do it?
That's the way I tell the story, that you that after some time you eventually did the right thing.
All right. Well, I know we're looking at the clock coming down. We wanted to add the fortune cookie segment.
Yes.
To the show.
Let's do the scores. Let's do the scores for
scores first. Yes.
Each dish. I'm going to give the broccoli and garlic sauce, because I cannot give it a 0. I'm giving it a 1.
Wow.
And I shouldn't even grade the egg drop soup, because I barely got a sip down. It was so disgusting. Can I abstain? Because
you got to find a new place. It shouldn't be this disgusting.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Ugh. What's yours?
All right, I'm going to give mine. Broccoli and garlic sauce was good.
Have you been shit? Have you been keeping track of our scores?
No.
Okay. Because I know my egg foo young was high.
Uh-huh.
The noodles from last week, I think I gave a 5 or 6.
Yeah, nothing. I mean, nothing is going to touch your egg foo young. I mean, that's
yeah. I remember
you gave it 9.9, I think, right?
I like the Singapore noodles.
Uh-huh.
I didn't like
that's your number 2 at this point.
Yeah, and then the General Sal, or as you call it, GTC or whatever. What do you say? GTO. I don't know, GTFO. This is at the bottom.
Okay. Wow. I thought I was doing you a favor, and I ended up doing you dirty.
What you say makes sense. It does sound like it'd be a simple dish. But
well, I mean, mine was fine. You know, I didn't have any complaints. The only complaint I had is some of the broccoli was too large.
Yeah.
But you know, I can't complain about them giving me lots of broccoli. I mean, that's stupid. So I'm going to give mine a good 7.5.
Wow.
Yeah, it was good.
I
ate it all. You know,
is that your highest?
No, it's not my highest, is it? I think I gave Singapore rice noodle higher.
Okay.
I think I gave that 8.5.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I'll give the soup. I was not a big fan. I advise people not to look at it when they eat it, which is probably not, you know, that's not saying much, you know. That
that's not a great endorsement.
You can't look at the egg whites floating in suspension in the yellow fluid, you know. It's a little off-putting. But if you close your eyes and drink it, it's not terrible. It reminded me of the broth from wonton soup. So I'll give egg drop soup a 4. Yeah, I'm not a fan. That's a one and done experience for me.
Yeah,
I'm not going back to that.
Oh, you hadn't had it before?
I've never had it. No, that's why I wanted to do it. You know, it was like here was something I never had. I wanted to give it a shot. My father actually likes it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, somebody likes it. It's on every Chinese menu I've ever seen in my life.
Exactly.
And there's 8 billion Chinese people, so there's somebody's enjoying it. Let's crack open our cookies.
Want to make the noise? There goes my cookie all over my keyboard.
I already have a superstition.
You're eating a cookie.
I like the cookie.
Wow.
But I'd take a tiny bite every time.
I'm giving you points for eating it. I don't know the last time I ever ate one. You have to go to like the real nice restaurants to get one that's edible.
Wow.
So I'm looking at my fortune.
Let's hear it.
This is a lengthy one. Usually they're like a one-liner.
The spool? Is it unspooling?
If you aim to do a favor, then go the whole way. Never do anything halfway.
Those are two.
It's good advice. Yeah,
that's good advice. I like the first part.
Yeah,
the second one feels like the second one could apply to anything.
Uh-huh.
I like the first part about, hey, if you're going to do a favor, go. That's really nice. I like that.
Yeah.
I don't know why they tacked on the second one.
And of course, on the back, you've got numbers now because
lucky numbers.
Because lucky numbers, we're all gambling addicts.
Yeah.
And why not play some more numbers?
Yeah. Fucking ordering this crap tonight was a gamble. I lost. Mine says, this is funny because think of what I've said about all my friends who couldn't give a crap about anything. I do. Here it is. Rely on longtime friends to give you good advice. Wow, maybe these things are.
That was timely.
Maybe these things are prescient. I remember I had one.
They caught your vibe, man.
Yeah. I remember fortunately I got like a year or two ago with something about, you need to make good choices in life. And I was laughing. I was like, it's one of those good choices not ordering Chinese takeout. But this seems eerily prescient. And wow. Okay.
All right. Cool. So that should wrap things up. You got something picked out for next week?
Let's do, I've always seen, I don't know if Kung Pao is everything, but I'm seeing Kung Pao chicken.
Okay. That's a name I've heard of. Okay, never eaten.
Good. Me too. Yeah.
Okay. So be it.
Kung Pao chicken. Perfect.
Okay. Sounds great. I want to thank everybody for listening. Hit that subscribe button and we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Thanks for listening. That is The Wedding Parties by Gregory Wilson on Amazon.com. The Wedding Parties, Amazon.com.